Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchit Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rūpa nu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rūpa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda ki jai. Nama Chai Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradati Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Shri Chaitanya Manobhishta Stapak Shri Rupa Gosvami Pada ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Viraha Mahotsav ki jai. Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shinitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dandavat Pranams Karkaraji and Rup Manjari Didi and Madhavi Didi Hari Bo. Dandavat Pranams. So I am going to share my screen now and we will read some kathā from We'll read some kathā from purebhakti.com. I have 3 articles here. If Rupa Gosvami had not come, which Gurudeva spoke on in 2005, this one, which Gurudeva spoke in 1998, and this one, which is, oh, wait, is this the same one? Let's see. At 6:30 a.m., let's see. Hey, wait, let me just see if this is the same one. Okay, the first verse in here is Kriti Sadhya Bhavat Sadhya. Okay, this one's different. So, all right. So let's begin. I'm going to switch the order then. Let's do this one after. Okay. If Rupa Gosvami had not come. One second, let me just drink some. Oh, Dandavat Pranams, Ganga Didi. Yeah, Rup Manjari, it was a 3-day festival. But what was the date for this one? This one says 17 August. And this one also says 17 August. Okay. So, Vrindavan, India, August 17, 2005. Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. The Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Gosvami. The following is a discourse in honor of his disappearance day spoken in front of his samadhi at the Radha Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan, India, August 17, 2005. Today, we are very fortunate to be at the Bhajan Stali and Samadhi Stali of Srila Rupa Goswami here at Sri Radha Damodar Temple. Srila Rupa Goswami is the life of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. He is the crest jewel of the Rasik Bhaktas. And it is he alone who fulfills the Manobhishtam, the heartfelt desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have performed our worship of Srila Rupa Goswami, and we pray to his lotus feet that his conceptions may manifest in our heart. We pray that the manner in which he served Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Shri Radha Krishna may also manifest in our heart. If Srila Rupa Gosvami had not come to this world, the flood of mercy created by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the gift of service to Srimati Radhika, would have stopped when the Lord disappeared. Sri Krishna came to this world as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for two reasons. The first reason was to taste three unfulfilled desires, and the second reason was to distribute to the world Rag Marg, the path of spontaneous devotion by following in the wake of Sri Krishna's Vrindavan associates, and especially to distribute the service of Srimati Radhika. For this purpose, Sriman Mahaprabhu manifested himself in the heart of Sri Rupa Gosvami and inspired him to write all his transcendental literatures, especially Vidagdha Madhav and later Ujjvala Nilamani and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sometime after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed from this world, people hated Parakiya Ras, the mood of paramour love between Radha and Krishna and the other gopis. They had a bad idea about it. Even other sampradayas, like the Sri Sampradaya and Sri Ramanuja, and also the Nimbarka Sampradaya, were against the worship of Radha Krishna to such a degree that they separated the deity of Radha from the deity of Govinda in Jaipur. Srila Rupa Gosvami established the true conception of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his books. He especially used the Srimad Bhagavatam as evidence to establish that Parakiya Ras is not only bona fide, but it is the highest devotion. He established this truth in such a strong way that all the other sampradayas had to bow their heads and accept it. What would have happened if Srila Rupa Gosvami had not appeared in this world? The Vraj Prem, the Prem of Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and especially the Prem of the Gopis, was contained in a storehouse. There are so many types of Gopi Bhav, namely Sneha, Man, Pranay, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, and Mahabhav. All these definitions were given by Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. The Paribhasa Sutra, meaning the defining aphorism of Srimad Bhagavatam, the definition shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam contains its essence. Ete changsa kala pungsam krishnastu bhagavan swayam. All of the above-mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Moreover, Srila Rupa Goswami showed us how to obtain that Supreme Lord of all by giving definitions for all the stages of devotion to Him. What is Sneha? What is Man? What is Pranay? What is Rag? What is Anurag? What is Bhav? What is Modan Bhav? What is Madanakya Mahabhav? He gave definitions for Shraddha, Nishta, Ruchi, Shuddha Sattva, and Bhav Bhakti. He manifested the definition of Sadhan Bhakti. We learned this in our shloka group recently. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana bheda nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam hriti sadhyata. I'll just read the translation. When transcendental devotional service by which love for Krishna is attained is executed by the senses, it is called sadhan bhakti, or devotional service and practice. Such devotion eternally exists within the heart of every living entity. The awakening of this eternal devotion is the potentiality of devotional service and practice. From Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22. Oh wait, sorry, no, it's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Alright. Srila Rupa Goswami explained that sadhan is only sadhan when our goal is the attainment of bhav bhakti. Then it can be called sadhan bhakti, otherwise not. Otherwise, one's practice is called sadhan abhas, a shadow or semblance of devotional practice. Rupa Goswami gave us the definitions of prem, and he showed the entire world the nature of Srimati Radharani's attraction to Krishna. He showed the world how we can be attracted to Radha and Krishna. He taught the identity of Radha Krishna and also of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anarpita charim chirat karunaya vatirna kalo samarpaitum unato jala rasam sabhakti shriyam haripurata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandare spuratu va sachinandana. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. That's from the second verse of Vidagdha Madhav. Who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. He is Sri Krishna, covered by the complexion and the bhav of Srimati Radhika. He came to distribute her service in this world. Who described the identity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did not, and Sri Rai Ramananda did not. All knew, but when Sri Ramananda Rai began to explain his identity, Mahaprabhu covered his mouth. Only Rupa Gosvami could completely describe it. All others were checked, but Rupa Gosvami could not be checked. Mahaprabhu chose him to reveal himself to this world. Mahaprabhu also chose him to distribute the service of Srimati Radhika to this world. Rupa Gosvami had a special mood, and those who follow in his footsteps are called Rupanugas. All Rupanugas are Raganugas, but not all followers on the path of Raganuga Bhakti are Rupanugas. My Gurudeva used to say this all the time. This is a very common quote of his. All Rupanugas are Raganugas, but not all Raganugas are Rupanugas. Sri Rupa Goswami described bhakti, pure devotional service, in one verse. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyana vratam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably, without a desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. That's the 11th verse from the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In the first two lines, he showed to us what is not bhakti. He also explained Arup Siddha Bhakti, Sangha Siddha Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Anyabhilashita Yukta Bhakti, and so on. He described all these topics. And then I guess they sing the song Yankali Rūpa Śrīla Natarata. If Sri Rupa Goswami, this is a translation of the song. If Srila Rupa Goswami had not, we sang the song yesterday. Anyways. If Srila Rupa Goswami had not appeared in Kali Yuga, who would have opened the great storehouse of Vraj Prem and distributed its contents freely? Just as a swan separates milk from water, who else could have separated the rasas to taste them? Abandoning everything, he performed bhajan in Vrindavan and wrote his rasic literatures. He lived like a bee, taking the nectar of lotuses. Who could have understood the nectar he was collecting? Who could have understood Krishna's pastimes in Mathura and Vrindavan? How could we have known the sweet Vrajalilas and the love between Radha and Madhav? By the mercy of his lotus feet, all can sing about and attain such divine bliss. The surrendered Madhav Das is always praying to embrace Sri Rupa's glories. The Kirtan Yankali Rupa Śrīla Natarata by Sri Madhav Das states, just as a swan separates milk from water, in the same way, Srila Rupa Goswami separated the milk of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, from the water of all different types of mixed bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami left everything, all his family members, his position, his disciples, and so on. He came alone to Vrindavan. Here at Sri Radha Damodar Mandir, he completed most of his books. He began to write a drama describing the pastimes of Krishna, but on the way to Jagannath Puri at Sri Satyabhamapur, Srimati Satyabhama Devi appeared in his dream and said, "O Rupa, you should write a separate drama about me." Afterwards, in Puri, Mahaprabhu said to him, "Don't take Krishna out of Vrindavan. You should write 2 dramas, Vidagdha Madhav and Lalit Madhav." Satyabhama would not appear to an ordinary person. Radhika would not appear to an ordinary person. When Srila Rupa Gosvami heard the instructions of Mahaprabhu, "Don't take Krishna out of Vrindavan," he could understand that Satyabhama's intention and Mahaprabhu's intention were the same. He thus wrote 2 dramas. He wrote and compiled more than 30 books, such as Hansadut, Uddhav Sandesh, and many others, and most are completed here at the Radha Damodar temple. There may be many different types of flowers, such as beli, chameli, lotus, and so on, but unless there is a bee present, who can understand the nectar contained within those flowers? In the daytime, the bee goes to the lotus flowers. At night, that lotus closes with the bee within it. That same bee who is able to cut his way even through bamboo cannot escape the petals of the lotus. In the same way, all the gopis have very fragrant moods in their service to Krishna, but unless the bee is there, how can we understand their fragrance? As the bee is trapped by the lotus flower, the bee like Krishna is trapped by the prema of the gopis. He is completely bound. The words Ko Janata Mathura Vrindavan are significant in this song. Without the mercy of Srila Rupa Gosvami, who would be able to understand what is Mathura and what is Vrindavan? Mathura is the place of Aishwarya Mayi Bhakti, and Vrindavan is the place of Madhurya Mayi Bhakti. Mathura and Vrindavan are so close, but no one from Mathura visits Vrindavan, and no one from Vrindavan visits Mathura. This is because even though they are close in geography, they are very far in mood. This was all shown by the evidence of Srimati Radhika, who never went to Mathura. Ko janata Rajanita. Without Srila Rupa Goswami, who could understand the mood of Vrindavan or the behavior of the Brajvasis? Without him, how could we have understood the attachment of Radhika and Madhav for each other? Srimati Radhika uses apparently very abusive language toward Krishna, but her prema is actually millions of times greater than anyone else's. Her prema is greater than the Sadharan Rati of Kubja. Her prema is greater than the Samanjasa Rati of the queens of Dwarka. The prema of Radharani and the gopis of Vrindavan is called Samartha Rati. Samartha means it is capable, that they can do anything for Krishna, and therefore only their prema can completely satisfy and control him. Without the mercy of Rupa Goswami, who could understand that Krishna is only bound by Srimati Radhika? Whatever we are speaking is the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. Whatever the members of our Guru Parampara, like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Jiva Goswami, or Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has spoken, this is also only by the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written Prem Samput. There he describes how Krishna disguised himself as a demigoddess called Shamasaki. In a disguised form, he went to Radharani and asked, "O Radharani, how can you love Krishna? We saw what he did to you. He called all the gopis doing Ras Lila and left them for you. And later on, he left you alone. He is very cruel. How could you have developed affection for him?" Radhika replied, "Oh, you don't know what prem is." All the transcendental topics written by our Gaudiya Parampara, especially written by Srila Jiva Goswami and Gopal Champu, written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and what we have heard from Srila Prabhupada and our Gurudev, is all the mercy of Srila Rupa Gosvami. Therefore, today, we pray to the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Gosvami that he may be merciful to us and keep us under his guidance. We pray that he may inspire his moods in our hearts. This is our prayer to the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Gosvami. Okay, let's see this one. So this is spoken on the same day, and here's a little introduction. Oh, this is a report. Okay, this is in the class. This is a report. Shall we read a report? Just so we can, let's try. Okay. At 6:30 a.m. on Srila Rupa Goswami's disappearance day, Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj took about 200 devotees to Sri Rupa Sanatan Gaudiya Math for darshan of Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari. One second, let me just see the... Dandavat Pranams, Prajumna Prabhu, and Mantra Murti Mataji. And Raseshwari Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, Hari Bol. And also Indira Mataji, if she watches this later on. Okay, so at 6:30 a.m. on Srila Rupa Goswami's disappearance day, Srila Gurudeva and about 200 devotees from Sri Rupa Sanatana Gaudiya Math, they took darshan of Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari. Along with all those devotees in the form of a kirtan party, he then went to Sri Radha Damodar temple. Everyone present circumambulated the temple, first visiting the samadhis of Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and then led by Srila Maharaj, offering arti at the Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur while singing Srila Prabhupada Padmastava. After that, they all went to the Samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami, where Srila Maharaj led them in the performance of arati and then showered them with the nectarian glorification of Rupa Goswami and his unique contribution. After that, Srila Maharaj led them in worship of Rupa Goswami's place of bhajan. In the evening, there are about 400 devotees present at Sri Rupa Sanatan Gaudiya Math. Srila Narayan Maharaj had invited a panel of Mathura devotee scholars, and after they each glorified Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Narayan Maharaj himself spoke. Srila Maharaj expressed his appreciation of the wisdom shared by the various speakers, and he illuminated their main points. He especially appreciated Bhuta Krishna Goswami's explanation. Simultaneously summarizing and expanding on the Goswami's words, Srila Maharaj explains that all the commentaries and writings of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur were all manifest by Srila Rupa Goswami's mercy. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gave us Radha Krishna's Ashtakaliya Leela in the form of Govinda Leelamrita, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gave it in the form of Shri Krishna Bhavanamrita. All of their work was inspired by Srila Rupa Goswami, in whom they took shelter. Srila Maharaj explained how Srila Rupa Goswami gave Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Radha and Krishna's tax pastimes in the form of his book Dan Keli Kumudi, and that inspired Srila Raghunath Das Goswami to write his own Dan Keli Chintamani. Whatever Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote was inspired by Srila Rupa Goswami. He wrote the commentary of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the form of his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. He also wrote Prem Samput and Chamatkar Chandrika. Without Srila Rupa Goswami, the other acharyas could not have given the world what they did. Shri Krishna Chandra and Srimati Radhika are merciful, and Lalita and Vishaka are merciful. But without Srila Rupa Goswami's mercy, we would not be able to get their mercy. Without Srila Rupa Goswami, no one would have known what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, and what he came to taste, Madanakya Mahabhav. Our entire disciplic succession is coming from Srila Rupa Goswami, and the entire universe gets from him the root of all moods and philosophy of Bhakti Ras. Srila Narayan Maharaj then glorified the discussion of Vasudev Krishna Chaturvedi and expanded on one of Chaturvedi's important points, his expression of Sri Vittalacharya's song, Sri Radha Prarthana. Srila Maharaj quoted the song and explained its verses. He began with the first words, Kripayati Yadi Radha, and here's a full verse, Vadita Sheshabada Kemapara Vishishtam Pushti Tayorme Yadi Vadati Chakinchit Smera Hasodita Shir Trijavaramani Pankta Mukti Suktya Tadakim. If Srimati Radhika is merciful to me, then all obstacles to my devotion will be removed. There will be nothing more for me to attain, because I will have received the fruits offered by the paths of both Vaidhi-marg and Ragamarg. And if she will speak to me while smiling gently, I will see her brilliant rows of teeth, which are like the lines of priceless jewels. Having seen them one time, the goal of gaining liberation from material existence will be rendered insignificant. It's the first verse of Radha Prarthana. Srila Maharaj then began his glorification of the song. Where did Sri Vittalacharya get this idea? He got it from his association with Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who received his ultimate realizations from Srila Rupa Goswami. Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara Smera Hasa Murali Manohara Radhika Rasika Mam Kripa Nidhe Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru. O Shama Sundara, O Shikanda Shekara, your face is always graced with a playful smile. Your flute playing is enchanting, and you are so expert in relishing ras with Srimati Radhika. Because you are an ocean of mercy, I am appealing to you to please make me a kinkari, a maidservant, at the feet of your beloved. Srila Maharaj continued, we are so fortunate because now Srila Rupa Goswami's disciplic succession is here, and we have come to it. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us Sri Upadeshamrita, and from there we from there we learn not to criticize. We learn to only criticize our own mind. Krishneti yasya giritan manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhishcha bhajantamisham shushrushaya bhajana vigyamananyamanya nindadi shunya hridamit ipsita sangalabdya. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation and who is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. We should surrender our entire lives to one who is ninda shunya, who never commits any offenses. This is all explained by Srila Rupa Goswami, whose culmination verse in his book, in this book, Upadeshamrita, is Tanama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja Tishtan Vrajetar Jananukami Kalam Nayed Akilamityupadesha Saram. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraj and serve under the guidance of the devotees, and serve Krishna under the guidance of the devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. All Gaudiya Acharyas fall at Srila Rupa Goswami's lotus feet and take shelter there. I pray to his lotus feet that he will give all of you his mercy. Tomorrow is Baladev Purnima, and we will meet again. My thanks to all who have come here. Alright, so now we will read the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. For the divine disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami, and for your own transcendental reading pleasure on this day, and for the sharing with friends, we are happy to present Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj's discourse on Srila Rupa Goswami's glories spoken at Sri Rupa Sanatan Gaudiya Math on August 6, 1998. And there's a video here also of it. But the video doesn't work. I'll have to mention that. I'll mention it to Gurudeva. Okay. In Shri Krishna's pastimes, Srila Rupa Gosvami is Rupa Manjari, a special maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Let me just check everything's... Okay, everything looks good. So yeah, in Krishna's pastimes, Rupa Gosvami is Rupa Manjari, a special maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Rupa Manjari is always serving Srimati Radhika, and she is always on her side. If Krishna orders her to do something, she will not be afraid to disobey, and by disobeying, she will be so pleasing to Krishna. Among all the maidservants of Radhika, including Rati Manjari, who is Raghunathas Goswami, and Lavanga Manjari, who is Sanatan Goswami, she is the most prominent. Ananga Manjari, the younger sister of Radhika, is her bosom friend. Because Rupa Manjari is the prominent maidservant of Srimati Radhika and always lives with her, she knows some things that are unknown even to the closest Sakis, the Gopi friends of Radhika, namely Lalita, Vishaka, and Tungavidya. By her causeless mercy, she came in the form of Srila Rupa Gosvami, the associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the associates of Krishna act as if they are dumb when it comes to expressing themselves about their own loving exchanges with Sri Krishna. They personally relish Krishna's pastimes, but they cannot tell anything about their experiences. Radhika will also not tell anything about how she meets with Krishna. Sometimes in the early morning, Shamala visits Srimati Radhika and asks, "I want to hear something from you. I want to take bath in hearing your Krishna kathā. I want to hear how you met with Krishna last night." Srimati Radhika replies, "I don't remember. I went there and I saw him, and then I fainted, and then I don't know anything about what happened after that." If Chandravali asks what had happened, Radhika's Sakis tell the opposite of what actually transpired. They will not reveal what incidents actually took place. Whenever they are asked this question, all act as if dumb. Neither Lalita nor Vishaka nor any other Sakis will tell. And even Krishna will not tell what had happened. They will relish their pastimes together, but not tell others about them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, "Na prema gandosti darapi me haro, grandami sobhagya bharam prakashitum. Vangshi vilasanana lokanam vina, vibrami yat prana patanga kambrita." From Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 245. My dear friends, I have not the slightest tinge of prema within my heart. When you see me crying in separation, I am just falsely exhibiting a demonstration of my great fortune. Indeed, not seeing the beautiful face of Krishna playing his flute, I continue to live my life like an insect without purpose. Mahaprabhu said, "I have not a cent of that prema." In this way, he is also as if dumb. In Srila Rai Ramananda's conversation with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Samvad, Rai Ramananda, who was Vishaka in Krishna's pastimes, barely told anything. He was simply replying to Mahaprabhu's instructions, one after another. In Mahaprabhu's instructions to Srila Sanatan Goswami in Sanatan Shiksha, what did he tell? He did not say anything about the confidential pastimes of Shri Shri Radha Krishna, nor did he reveal how the gopis served them. What has Mahaprabhu told in his instructions to Srila Rupa Goswami and Sri Rupa Shiksha? He told next to nothing regarding Radha and Krishna's pastimes. And finally, he ordered Rupa Goswami to reveal to all. He ordered Rupa Goswami to reveal all that he himself could not. Even Rupa Manjari could not tell everything. Only Rupa Gosvami can tell. He tells everything. Srila Rupa Gosvami is very intelligent and expert. He explains how, in the form of Rupa Manjari, he personally serves Srimati Radhika in Krishna's pastimes. For example, he tells that Srimati Radhika has appointed him in the form of Rupa Manjari. Oh my dear Saki, please stand at the door of the kunja and do not allow anyone to come to see me. I'm having a weird thing. I'm just adding in words that aren't there. Sorry, guys. Oh, my dear Saki, please stand at the door of the kunja and do not allow anyone to come to me, especially that black person, Krishna. He should not come to me. He might come disguised as a girl. His cowherd friend Suval is so expert that he may disguise him as a very enchanting gopi. If that happens, you should know that it is him. Srila Rupa Gosvami is saying, Srimati Radhika has told me to do this, and now I am standing guard at the door of her kunja. When Krishna comes in the disguise of any girl, I will chastise him because of his misbehavior towards Radhika and not allow him to enter. Will such a day ever come to me that I may perform that service? He tells us what he has seen. In the form of Rupa Manjari, he is serving Krishna and Srimati Radhika. He is obeying the orders of Srimati Radhika and stopping Krishna from entering her kunja. He is seeing how Krishna, being so much pleased, is begging her to be allowed to enter Radhika's kunj and is placing his head at Rupa Manjari's lotus feet to attain her mercy, to attain Rupa Manjari's mercy. Srila Rupa Gosvami is very clever. He has written all his prayers as though he has not already experienced the fruit of those prayers. Although he has actually experienced his personal services to Srimati Radhika, he is writing prayers as if he has never experienced this for us. What he felt in the form of Rupa Manjari, he has very cleverly shared it with us by means of his prayers. Rupa Goswami has personally taken darshan of Radha and Krishna, but for the true sincere sadhak, he has written this verse in his prayer, Gandharvika Parthanashtakam. Shri Gandharva Samparthanashtakam. Vrindavane viharatoriha keli kunje matta dipa pravara kautuka vibhramena sandarshayasya yuvayor vadanaravinda Bandang videhi mai devi kripam prasiddha. O Devi Radhike, like the intoxicated king of elephants sporting with his queen elephant, Shri Krishna and you are constantly enjoying your ambrosial amorous pastimes in the lush pleasure groves of Vrindavan. Therefore, O Gandharvike, be pleased with me and mercifully grant me darshan of your two lotus-like faces. Srila Rupa Goswami is teaching by his own example how a Rupa Nuga Vaishnav prays to Srimati Radhika. Those who want to follow him never pretends to have already attained Ekadasha Bhav, Gopi Bhav, or Manjari Bhav. Those who pretend to be already on that platform when they are actually not so, are actually mad. They have no sense at all. We should always pray as Srila Rupa Goswami prayed. Then, by the mercy of the gopis, and by the mercy of Srimati Radhika, we can realize all the truths hidden within Rupa Goswami's prayers. Srimati Radhika will give this realization. She will at once be pleased and give her service. Srila Rupa Goswami teaches us how to pray. Vrindavane viharator iha. Oh, when will that time come? Oh, my dear Srimati Radhika Devi, you are very merciful, so please be merciful to me. Please sprinkle your mercy upon me. When uttering this verse, we should weep. We should not chant this verse as a parrot would chant it. We should be alone, weeping with a melted heart, so that Srimati Radhika's heart may melt. If our heart is not melted at the time of prayer, then the heart of Srimati Radhika, Mahaprabhu, Krishna, and Gurudeva will not melt for us. If they see that we have so many worldly desires, they will not be merciful. Therefore, we must be one-pointed, thinking only this: I want Srimati Radhika's service. Tavai vasmi, na jivami toya vina, iti vigyaya radhe tvam, nayamang charananti ke. O Radha, I cannot live without you, so please be merciful to me. If you are not merciful to me, I can no longer remain alive. I will die at once. And certainly, he must die. Srimati Radhika will not reveal herself to one who is not actually feeling like he is dying without her mercy. She will look to see this. Is he really feeling that without me he will die at once? Or is he only saying so? There should be a sense of mindness, mamata, towards Srimati Radhika. Then, by the mercy of Gurudev, we can attain a little fraction of her mercy. If we desire so many worldly things, then Srimati Radhika, Gurudev, and Vaishnavas will not hear our prayers. When we only want Radhika's mercy, then they will hear and give their full mercy. In the above-mentioned verse, Srila Rupa Gosvami prays to serve Radha and Krishna when they are performing their amorous pastimes in the Keli Kunjas throughout Vrindavan, in Bandirvan, Nandagaon, and Varshana, and especially at Radhakund. The word Keli in this verse refers to Shishi Radha Krishna's amorous pastimes, and the word Kunja in this connection refers to the secluded groves in which they are absorbed in playing like mad elephants, Matta Dvipa. Rupa Gosvami also prays to serve them when they are roaming throughout Vrindavan. He begs them, "O my dear Srimati Radhika, O my dear Krishna, when will a day come that I will see your lotus feet?" In another verse of this prayer, he begs, "Ha Devi Kakui Paragad Gadaya Dyavacha." O Devi Radhika, I want my heart to melt, but it does not do so because it is full with so many anarthas, especially Hriday Durbalya, Asat Trishna, Sarup Brahma, Brahm, and Aparad. Not Brahm, Brahm. We are bound to commit all these offenses, aparads. We cannot give appropriate honor to any Vaishnava, and we cannot follow their orders. Therefore, although Radha and Krishna, Mahaprabhu, and Guru and Vaishnavas want to bestow their mercy upon us, we cannot receive their mercy because we are not qualified. In the verse beginning with Ha Devi Kaku Bara, Rupa Gosvami is praying, I am weeping bitterly. I am rolling down on the earth and praying at your lotus feet. Although I am so foolish and full of anarthas, still I am yours. I am not qualified. I have so many undesirable mentalities. That is true, but I know that you alone are mine. O Gandharvika, O Radhika, I beg you to write my name in the register of your maidservants. I beg you to sometimes remember me, that I am yours, your dear maidservant. If Srimati Radhika hears these prayers uttered from the core of one's heart, her heart will melt and she will bestow her mercy. Srila Rupa Goswami has skillfully written prayers such as this, filled with the pastimes of Krishna. He is Rupa Manjari, a prominent Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect associate of Radha and Krishna. But in the form of a sadhak, he is explaining to us the pastimes and the process to understand and enter them, so that we may be helped. This is his mercy. Shame Rama Ramana Sundarata Varishta Saundarya Mohita Samasta Jagajanasya Shamasya Vama Bhujabadatanam Kadaham Tvamendira Virala Rupa Bharam Bhajami. O Shame, O Radhika, your master is even more charming than Lord Narayan, and his beauty enchants the entire creation. You are at his left side, embraced by his arm, and your beauty can never be equaled, even by that of Lakshmi Devi. When will I properly worship such beauty? That's not a proper translation. It doesn't say when will I worship such beauty. Anyways, whatever. You are so beautiful, even more beautiful than Krishna and Lakshmi and all the Lakshmis of Dwarka. You are more beautiful than Chandravali, Lalita, Vishaka, and all the other gopis. Shri Krishna is more beautiful than Rama Raman, Lord Narayan, and he can charm all incarnations, including Ramachandra and Narayan. Will a day come for me when I will see that very Krishna embracing you as you struggle to free yourself from his embrace? May I be fortunate enough to see this? These are some of the prayers of Rupa Gosvami, who is very skillfully teaching us how a true Rupanuga Vaishnava can gradually develop his bhakti, absorb himself in all the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and then enter those pastimes. When all these prayers are offered continually, without desiring anything for our body or our minds, not desiring even Vaikuntha, but only endeavoring for the service of Radhika, this is called Rupanuga Bhajan. We should try to follow Rupa Goswami, just as our previous acharyas have followed him. All of our acharyas, like Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, down to Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and his pure followers, all are Rupanuga. We must know the meaning of Rupanuga. Those who have a taste agreed to serve Srimati Radhika, and only Radhika, they are Rupanuga, and they can understand something of the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami, without which one cannot know his glory. We can know something of his glory by the mercy of Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, down to Srila Prabhupada and our Gurudeva. It is incumbent upon us to understand how his mercy is attained, and to understand the extent of our debt to him. If we have no taste, no greed for this, we will not be able to understand. We should try to associate with the Rasik Vaishnavas, those who have these elevated moods in relation to Srimati Radhika, and then we can advance in our bhakti. Try to follow Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita. Those who do not read and follow this cannot understand him. Then, after understanding and following Upadeshamrita, we should read, understand, and follow Manashiksha. Then we can know something about his glory and mercy. Ramachandra Prabhu from Delhi. Can we utter prayers like this? Srila Gurudev. If you have some taste and greed, you can do so. Otherwise, don't touch them. Ramachandra Prabhu. We should not read the pastimes, but in the form of prayers, is it okay? Srila Gurudev. If anyone has taste and greed for this attainment by hearing the truths mentioned herein, and by serving the bona fide Rupanuga Guru and Vaishnavas, that Vaishnav can read and pray. Those who are filled with worldly desires, thinking, oh, the association of a girl and boy is so good, those people are not qualified for this. For those who are hearing from the books of Srila Rupa Goswami, from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and from Srimad Bhagavatam, if a real greed manifests in their hearts, they are qualified to know all these truths, and they can pray in this way. Even if one will warn them not to do it, still they will do it. Regarding those who are not qualified, even if one insists that they do it, they will not do it. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Srila Rupa Goswami Par Ki Jai. That was beautiful. All right. I'm just curious, what's on Vishuddha Chaitanya Vani? JC Vani. Just seeing if this is a long class or a short one. If it's short, then maybe we can read it. Oh, it's long. It's super long. Yeah, never mind. Anyways, if you ever get a chance, this is also a nice thing to read today. But the class here on Vishuddha Chaitanya Vani by Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj is from it's from his class that he gave in 2008 and also 2009 in Sri Rupa Sanatan Gaudiya Math, Vrindavan, on the occasion of the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami. See, there's a picture of it. All right, I'm going to end here. But yeah, this is something nice to read today also. Let's see what Gurudeva said though about him. While inviting Srila Bharati Goswami Maharaj to speak on August 3rd, 2009, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj introduced him, saying, Srila Bharati Maharaj is very knowledgeable. He is fully established in Ras and Siddhanta. I hereby request him to accept the role of chairperson for this conference, held in honor of the disappearance Titi of Srila Rupa Goswami. And then he starts. The place where we have gathered today is Sri Rupa Sanatan Gaudiya Math. Prior to this, Srila Sanatan Goswami and Sri Rupa Goswami came to Vrindavan and fully manifested Sri Vrindavan Dham under her glories again, without which these glories would elude us all today. Therefore, to commemorate them, this place is known as Sri Rupa Sanatan Gaudiya Math. Shri Kavi Kanapur's dissatisfaction. I'm just reading this one part. Sorry. Shri Kavi Kanapur's dissatisfaction. What can we say to glorify Srila Rupa Goswami? Even Kavi Karnapur, an accomplished poet, despite having generously glorified Srila Rupa Goswami using various adjectives, proclaims that his words could not do justice. He said, Priya Sarupe Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe Sahajabhirupe, Nirjanarupe Prabhureka Rupe, Tatanu Rupe Swavilasa Rupe. This verse is so difficult to translate. I tried and I failed. And I was researching everywhere and everybody explains it in a different way. Anyways, let's see what it says here. Srila Rupa Goswami is very dear to and adored, and this is from Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak or 9.143. Srila Rupa Goswami is very dear to and adored by Sriman Mahaprabhu. He is the embodiment of his love, and he very naturally knows his heart. His form resembles that of Sriman Mahaprabhu. Indeed, it is as if their forms are one. Srila Rupa Goswami is the very embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, because it was through him that the Lord performed many works. Dissatisfied, even after such a composition, he eventually gave up, saying, I cannot reach the end of Srila Rupa Goswami's glories. Oh man, I want to read this whole thing. Anyways, well, let's see. Should I read it? I'm going to read it. Unless, yeah. And if anybody wants to leave, they can leave. But I just show reader. I always do this, don't I? Okay. Okay. Srila Rupa Goswami's humility. No. Sorry, skip this part. Worshipable prayer by Srila Rupa Goswami. Whenever anyone would pay obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, addressing him as Om Namo Narayan, Mahaprabhu would close his ears in dismay, asserting that an ordinary person should never be addressed as Narayan. When Srila Rupa Goswami first met and offered pranams to Mahaprabhu, he recited the following prayer. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. From Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 1953. I offer pranam unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is Sri Krishna himself. Having assumed the golden hue of Srimati Radhika, he is munificently bestowing Krishna Prem, the rarest of all gifts. At that time, Mahaprabhu neither closed his ears nor admonished Srila Rupa Goswami. Why? Because Rupa Goswami was Tattva-vid. well versed in spiritual truths. He addressed Mahaprabhu in full knowledge of his identity, while others, who called him Narayan, did so out of habit or popular custom. So Mahaprabhu accepted Srila Rupa Goswami's prayer. I pay obeisances to this prayer, not only because it was composed by Srila Rupa Goswami, but also because it was accepted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he pays obeisances to the obeisance mantra. Srila Rupa Goswami's humility. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, one requires 4 qualifications to chant Harinam Kirtan. Srila Rupa Goswami and the other Goswamis were firmly established in this doctrine. Trnarapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 1731. Thinking oneself to be even lower and more worthless than the insignificant grass which is trampled beneath the feet of all, being more tolerant than a tree, accepting no honor, but offering respect to all others according to their respective positions, one should continuously chant the holy name of Hari, Sri Hari. A Vaishnava once asked me, how is it possible that a Vaishnava becomes more humble as he advances? I replied, so many stalwart Vaishnavas exemplify this principle. Who should I cite as an example? Take Srila Rupa Goswami for instance. Srila Rupa Goswami said, Adaropyaparadhanam aviveka hatopyaham tat karunya pratikshosmi prasiddha mai madhava. That's from Stavamala, the Pranam Pranaya Stava, verse 14. Although I am a mine of offenses, and although I cannot tell right from wrong, I still hope for your mercy. O Madhav, please be merciful to me. Srila Rupa Goswami, the authority in the realm of bhakti, is addressing himself as a dustbin or repository of offenses. In Stavamala, he prays, Bhaktir udanchati yadapi madhava natai mamatila matri parameshwara tatarapita vadika durghata ghatana vidhatri. I don't know why I sung it that melody, but anyways, that's from Gitavali 24, Krishnadeva Bhavantam Vande, verse 3. O Madhav, although I do not possess even a sesame seed of bhakti for you, still, since you are the supreme controller, you can make the impossible possible. Srila Rupa Goswami prays, I don't have even a sesame seed worth of bhakti. Why then does he ask for kripa, mercy, even though he knows that he has no eligibility to ask for that mercy, by which one gets bhakti? He says, because you are glorious, I'm begging for your mercy. Even though I have no qualifications or eligibility to request for mercy, you can still award it to me because your agata ghatana patiyasi shakti can make what is impossible possible. In this matter, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has said, Apne yogya deki mane pankshova tatapi tomar gune upajay loba. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 1-204. We are very depressed at being unfit candidates for your mercy. Yet since we have heard of your transcendental qualities, we are very much attracted to you. He said, Loba, our attraction for you, comes about only because of your glories, although we are not qualified to even approach you. Srila Rupa Goswami and our acharyas naturally displayed this mood of humility without any pretense, knowing Mahaprabhu's heart. If Srila Rupa Goswami had not revealed so many mysteries about the absolute truth, how could we ever comprehend these subject matters? Srila Rupa Goswami unraveled Mahaprabhu's deep moods and made them available to everyone. That is why Srila Rupa Goswami has done more for us than the other associates of Mahaprabhu. During Rathayatra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sing one shloka from Kavya Prakash about the relationship between a hero and heroine. Not understanding his mood, the bewildered people thought, Why is a sannyasi singing from a mundane poem about an ordinary boy and girl? No one knew with what consideration or mood Mahaprabhu was taking darshan of the Rath. Sarup Damodar was the only one who understood Mahaprabhu's moods and would accordingly sing kirtans to nourish them. But when Srila Rupa Gosvami came, he composed another shloka similar to the one Mahaprabhu would recite, thus revealing Mahaprabhu's inner mood. Writing the verse on a palm leaf, Sri Rupa kept it to dry on the roof of his cottage at present-day Siddhabakul, and went to take bath in the ocean. As per his custom, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would daily, after taking his bath in the ocean, visit the devotees at Siddhabakul. That day, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, he saw the palm leaf on the thatched roof. He took it, and reading the composition by Srila Rupa Goswami, praised it very much. Here's a picture. Here's a picture of that. Rup Manjari sent me an email about this. Anyways, never mind. When Srila Rupa Goswami arrived, Mahaprabhu lovingly slapped him on his back. He asked Sarup Damodar Goswami, "How did Rupa know my heart?" Sarup Damodar Goswami said, "It is not possible for anyone to know your heart unless you have bestowed mercy upon that person." Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms, "When I met Rupa in Prayag, knowing him to be qualified, I bestowed mercy upon him." From this, it is evident that whatever Rupa Goswami wrote came directly from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. That is why Rupa Goswami's writings are so crucial and indispensable for the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Significance of teachings at Dasha Ashrameda Ghat. The speciality of Mahaprabhu was that he always gave teachings or shiksha as per time, place, and circumstance, or patra, recipient. Mahaprabhu gave instructions to Srila Rupa Goswami at Dashra Ashrameda Ghat in Prayag, which is famous for being the place of yajna. Yajna is generally performed for a particular desired outcome, or to attain a certain goal. Therefore, using Rupa Goswami as the upalakshya, the instrument, Mahaprabhu taught the Shrestha, or the topmost yajna. Bhagavan mentions in Bhagavad Gita 10.25, Yajnanam japa yagyosmi. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, japa yajna. Superior to this is Uttam Yajna, to engage all the senses in the service of Adipati, the master of the senses, Sri Krishna. Our senses are also likened to horses, as they are always taking us in different directions. And an Ashrameda Yajna traditionally refers to a horse sacrifice. But Dasha Ashrameda Yajna can also be interpreted as a sacrifice of our 10 senses. How should the senses be sacrificed? Mahaprabhu explains to Srila Rupa Goswami, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam, engaging all our senses in the service of the master of the senses. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19.170. So Mahaprabhu taught that instead of performing yajna to satisfy our desires and senses, the topmost yajna is to satisfy the senses of Bhagavan by engaging all our senses in his service. Teachings by Mahaprabhu to Sri Rupa. Mahaprabhu gave the teaching that there are endless varieties of jivas wandering in this Brahmanda. Among them, human beings are the least in number, and the majority of them are humans in name only. Rare are those who are humans by actions. Among them, the ones who accept the Vedas as authority are rarer still. Yet many among them act contrary to the Vedic injunctions. In this way, if one considers, he can know that a pure devotee is indeed the rarest of them all. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Kripai Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Interesting, it says Kripai Pai instead of Prasade Pai. Same meaning though. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19.151. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down to the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. Not to everyone, but a rare fortunate jiva, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, attains the seed of the creeper of devotion, Bhakti Lata Bij. Having attained it by Shravan and Kirtanam, which is likened to the process of watering the seed, the Bhakti Lata gradually grows, penetrating through the Brahmanda, eventually reaching the spiritual sky. That jiva doesn't stay in this world. Traversing through the Brahma and Parabrahma, he reaches Goloka Vrindavan. In addition, Mahaprabhu came to give Unata Ujjala Ras, Anarpita Chirim Chirat Karunaya Vatirna Kalo, Samarpaitum Unatojala Rasam Subhakti Shiyam, Hari Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita, Sada Hridaya Kandare, Spurato Va Sachinandana. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila 3:4. I'm not going to read the translation. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to give Unata Ujjala Ras, which was not given in a very long time. At Dasha Ashwamedha Ghat, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Srila Rupa Gosvami how one can obtain the qualification required to taste that Unata Ujjala Ras, as well as the process of Anushilan, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas to attain it. Shri Chaitanya Dev explains that the Veda Shastras speak about three things: Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. Sambandha means knowledge of Bhagavan and the Jiva, and their relationship with each other. Prayojan means one's ultimate aim, the attainment of Bhagavan, and Abhidheya is the process to attain that aim. Making Srila Rupa Gosvami the instrument, Mahaprabhu gave brief instructions on Abhidheya Tattva, the process of devotional service. Being empowered by Srimad Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Gosvami expanded the science of devotional service, Abhidheya, beginning with how to do sadhan spanning till Ujjala Nilamani. He revealed the intricacies of the subtle considerations and conceptions of the ocean of transcendental mellows and the nuances of the process of devotional service. That is why Srila Rupa Goswami is considered the authority for the path of bhakti. Some teachings by Srila Rupa Goswami. The topmost manifestation of bhakti, the ultimate fruit of sadhan bhakti, is prem bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami has described the symptoms of the various stages of bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.17. Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lagutakrit Sudurlabha Sandarananda Visheshatma Shri Krishna Karshani Chasa. Shuddha Bhakti has 6 characteristics. 1. Kleshagni, it destroys all types of distress. 2. Shubhada, it bestows complete auspiciousness. 3. Moksha Lagutakrit, it makes the attainment of liberation insignificant. And 4. Sudurlabha, it is extremely rare. 5. Sandarananda Visheshatma, it is the embodiment of condensed bliss. And 6. Shri Krishna Karshani, it attracts Shri Krishna. Sadhan Bhakti. A neophyte devotee is disturbed by the threefold miseries, threefold klish, adhyatmika, adidaivika, and adibhotaka. That's arising from the body and mind, arising from other living entities, and arising from the natural environment. But as one practices devotion, 2 fruits appear at the stage of sadhan bhakti, kleshagni and shubhada. At that stage, the devotee no longer perceives such material miseries as klesh, and sees only auspiciousness at all times. So that's at the beginning. Kleshagni and shubhada. Bhav bhakti. Sadhan bhakti matures into bhav bhakti. 2 fruits appear at this stage, moksha lagutakrit and sadurlabha. Moksha lagutakrit means that one sees the liberation which jnanis endeavor for as insignificant. One also realizes that bhakti is very rare, sadurlabha. Jnanata sulabha muktir bhuktir yagyadi punyata seyam sadhana sahasrar hari bhakti sadurlabha. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.36. By the cultivation of impersonal knowledge, one can easily obtain liberation, mukti, and by the performance of sacrifices and other pious activities, one can easily obtain sense gratification, bhukti. But despite performing innumerable sadhans, it is still very rare to achieve Hari Bhakti. Jnanata sulabha muktir. Liberation is easily attained through the process of jnana. Bhuktir yagyati punyata. By doing yagyas and similar pious activities, one can get bhog, facilities for sense enjoyment. If one performs 100 Ashwamedha yagyas properly, one can become Indra. By properly observing sannyas vows for 100 lifetimes, one can become Brahma. But Sayam Sadhana Sahasrar Hari Bhakti Sudurlabha. Hari Bhakti is not only rare, Durlabha, it is very rare, Sudurlabha. And then finally, Prem Bhakti. So Sadhan Bhakti is Kleshagni and Shubhada. Then Bhav Bhakti is Moksha Laguta Krit and Sudurlabha. And now Prema Bhakti. Sandarananda. After the stage of Bhav Bhakti comes Prem Bhakti. It also has two fruits. Sandarananda Visheshatma, or incalculably condensed bliss like sugar candy, Mishri. The tatastha secondary symptom of Prem Bhakti is Shri Krishna Karshani. It attracts Shri Krishna. One attracts Krishna by two moods, Tadiya, that I am Krishna's, and Madhya, that Krishna is mine. The mood of Radharani and Asakis is Madhya, not that we are not Krishna's, Krishna is ours. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Gosvami wrote about the broad spectrum of bhakti, sadharana bhakti, delineating the 64 limbs of bhakti for practicing devotees, while in Sri Ujjvala Nilamani, he described it in very specific, in a very vishesh way. Srila Rupa Goswami has described the process to attain pure devotion and explained the qualification to receive it. Srila Rupa Goswami also wrote about Goloka Vrindavan, which is like an ocean of milk. It is so divine and nectarian that upon attaining it, the jiva doesn't even glance back at Vaikuntha. What to speak of this material world? He made such high topics accessible for us. If one tries to attain Goloka Vrindavan, then there remains no klesh, miseries for him. If one person attains Goloka Vrindavan, then that does not affect another's possibility to attain it, as Goloka is endless, infinite, and will never diminish. On the other hand, since this material world is limited, if a jnani or karmi attains his object, that directly hampers another's possibility of attaining it. For example, if one performs 100 Ashwamedha yagyas, he becomes qualified to become the king of heaven. However, there is only one such post, and hence only one person can attain it. Similarly, one who strictly follows karma sannyas for 100 lifetimes becomes qualified for the position of Brahma. These posts are of this material world, and hence limited. One has to compete and fight with others to attain them. In Vaikuntha, there is no kunta dharma. There are no fights. The objects there are endless in supply, so there's no shortage for anyone. There it is full of ras. There are 5 types of ras: Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Bhakti Marg, the path of devotional service, is the only one devoid of jealousy or envy towards others. Incomprehensible without mercy. Can Shukadeva Goswami start reciting Srimad Bhagavatam without offering pranams to his Aradhyadev? You see, in the first shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, he actually glorifies Radha Krishna, and only then begins reciting Bhagavatam. He is speaking in a deep and hidden way, so that not everyone can understand. In Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's language, he says, Ye lagi kohite bhai, she jadi na jane, iha vai kiva shuka ache tribhuvane. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 4:236. For fear of them, I do not wish to speak. But if they do not understand, then what can be happier in all the 3 worlds? So even though they're afraid of distributing this, of revealing this topmost thing, which people aren't qualified to understand, Still, he has to do it because otherwise it'd be lost. But they won't be able to understand anyways, so what's the problem? That's what he says. Janma dasya yaton vayari taratash charte shabegya swarat. First verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Not everyone will understand this. In 2 words, Anvay and Itarash, Srila Shukadeva Goswami has indicated his worshipable deities. Krishna is Anvay and Radharani is Dvitiya. Anvay is Anuvay, the one who walks behind. Who does Krishna walk behind? Behind Radharani after she left the rasa dance. And Itara, Dvitiya means Radharani. It is said that he has said this in such a way that not all will understand. Only the Rasik Jan will understand. I've never heard that explanation before. It's beautiful. Okay. One has to be qualified to appreciate and experience their vichar. This is only possible when they extend their mercy. Otherwise, it is not possible. Srila Rupa Goswami has himself told, Atha Shri Krishna namadi na bhaver grahyamendriyai sevon mukhe hi jivadho swayam eva spuratyadha. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234. The human material senses cannot perceive Shri Harinam because it is a transcendental sound, but it will appear by itself on the pure senses of the Sevan Mukh Sadak, in whose heart the desire to serve Krishna has arisen. Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes cannot be comprehended using our senses. But if that is the case, how can we understand at all? Because the senses are all we have. Srila Rupa Goswami has said, Sevan mukhe hi jivadho, swayam eva spuratyadha. When the chitta vritti, the inclination of the soul, of the heart, becomes sevan mukha, inclined to serve, from bhogan mukha, being inclined to enjoy, at that time, the holy name will manifest by itself. This is how these personalities give their mercy. Object of prayers of other Goswamis. If Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami had not come, would anyone know about this Rajmandal? Therefore, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has prayed in Sri Dan Keli Chintamani, verse 175. Adadanastranam dante ridam yache puna puna Srimad Rupa padam bhoja dhulisam janma janmani. This fallen soul stands with a straw in his teeth and ceaselessly begs to attain the dust of the lotus feet of Srimad Rupa Goswami, birth after birth. Srimad Rupa Padamboja Dhuli Sam Janma Janmani. My goal, life after life, is the dust of the lotus feet of Srimad Rupa Goswami. Similarly, Narottam Das Thakur has prayed in Prarthana, Song 16, verse 1. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Shri Mora Sampada, Shri Mor Bhajana Pujan. The lotus feet of Shri Rupa Manjari are my treasure. They are the sole object of my bhajan and worship. Shri Rupa Manjari is my everything, including Shri Mor Veder Dharam, the dharma or essence of the Vedas. In the same prayer, he says that one attains perfection by attaining the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. Anukulaha bevidhi sepade hoibe siddhi. When providence becomes favorable, I shall attain Sri Rupa Manjari's lotus feet. But when will one experience this mood? Narottam Das Thakur is praying to attain the shelter of Radharani's dearmost Priyasaki, Rupa Manjari, sorry. Prabhu Lokanatha Kabe Sange Loya Jave Shirupera Pada Parme More Samarpive. That's from Prarthana. When will my master, Sri Lokanath Goswami, take me with him and offer me at Sri Rupa's lotus feet? When will my Guru Pad Parma offer me at the feet of Sri Rupa? This is the vichar, the goal of the Gaudiyas. And these are very elevated topics. In the end, he taught us how to worship Rajavadu Vargena Yakalpita, the most excellent method of worshiping Krishna is that adopted by the gopis, the young married damsels of Braj. When Krishna played the flute, all the Rajavadus went to meet Krishna, being attracted to him. There wasn't any gopi who did not go to meet with Krishna. But during the Ras Lila, Krishna left all of them behind and went behind Radharani when she left the Ras Lila. And Rupa Gosvami is the dearmost of that same Radharani. So our goal is very high, and we must perform the appropriate sadhana to become qualified to attain that topmost goal. Mahaprabhu said that without performing sadhana, we cannot attain our goal. Sadhya vastu sadhan vina keho nahi pai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 8:197. The goal of life, the sadhya vastu, cannot be achieved unless one accepts the appropriate process, the appropriate sadhana. There is more that can be said about him, but I am lacking in qualification to speak more about this topic. I am also unable to remain seated for too long. I had a great desire to come and meet with Srila Narayan Maharaj. We have a very old friendship. I had not met with him for a long time, as last year I did not come because I was in the hospital. I am fortunate to have darshan of the Vaishnavas today. This is my wealth. I am offering my pranams at their feet and asking for their permission to leave. At that time, my Gurudeva didn't allow Srila Bharati Maharaj to leave. He forced him to stay till the end, if I remember correctly. I have to see the video though. Anyways, all right. Thanks for sticking with me. Going way over time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvami Maharaj Srila Gurudeva ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Mahabhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath, Shraddha Goswami Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari, Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai, Nam Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gaura Mandala, Vraja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradakta Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki Jai, Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Rupa Gosvami Pada ki Jai. Tadiya Viraha Mahotsav ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Sumagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha. Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Vacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Hari Bol. Thank you for joining me in this reading. And tomorrow we will begin the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm excited for this 6th canto. All right. Jai Shri Radhe. Hari Bol.